configuration of our gateways with 3CX15 has changed a little bit since the version 14, but you will see that most of it stayed the same. I will also take the opportunity to show you the new beroNet interface. We have a firmware 16.2, which also has a few changes, and this is the right time to show it to you. So for those who don't know beroNet, a few information about us very quickly. We are a Berlin-based company which was created in 2002. So we've had now 14 years in voice over IP, and all of our products are made in Germany. So that was it. Only just a quick reminder of who we are. And now we can jump to the point where you are here. So usually in an installation with a 3CX, you have your 3CX installed and you connect to it all kinds of end devices and so on. So you have your 3CX to which you have SIP devices. You usually need a gateway if you have either analog devices to connect to your 3CX or ISDN lines that you want to connect to it as well. In this case, you will need to use one voice over IP device that enables you to connect analog devices and ISDN lines to your 3CX. So the configuration for the ISDN line is quite easy. We will first have to configure a port group with one BRI line and link it to the 3CX by creating a SIP trunk between the 3CX and the voice over IP gateway. And then in the dial plan, we will tell the gateway to take all the calls coming from ISDN and send them to the 3CX, and to do the same thing the other way around. For analog devices, what we want to do is to tell the 3CX that this extension belongs to this phone, or more better said, the other way around. This analog phone belongs to this user. So what we will have to do is say, just like we do for SIP extensions, we have one user and we say this user has this telephone. Oh, sorry, I forgot to translate it from German. This means end point. And with SIP, the good thing is that one user, one extension can have lots of different endpoints. In our case, we have user 1, which uses the endpoints number 1. He has a very nice SIP phone. And user 2, we will give him this analog telephone. And it means that in the gateway, we will have to configure one analog port and one SIP trunk connecting the gateway to user 2. In the 3CX, we will have to create as many extensions as we have analog endpoints. And we will create each time two dial plan rules to connect the endpoint with the extension, saying calls coming from extension number 2 has to be sent to port number so-and-so in the gateway, and calls coming from the port so-and-so need to be sent to user 2. So theoretically, for the configuration of the gateway, we have on one part the ISDN configuration, with the ports configured as TE, because you will have the ISDN line connected to the gateway. It would be TE, it would be NT if we wanted to connect an ISDN PBX to a SIP trunk. We will have one group of ports, one SIP account, and two dial plan rules on the ISDN part. For FXS, we would have one port per extension, one SIP account per extension, and two dial plan rules for each extension. So if you have lots of analog devices you want to connect to your 3CX, the configuration of those can be quite long. So we created a wizard which enables you to very quickly configure everything. So let's take a look at the configuration and how we can make it well. So here I have my 3CX version 15. I'm gonna switch it to English, sorry about that. admin. Okay, so I have my dashboard, and the 3CX I just installed is brand new, so I don't have any trunks, I don't have any extensions. Well, one extension because I had to create one extension when installing the 3CX. What we want to do is connect this gateway to the 3CX. If I take a look at what we have in the gateway, make a little zoom, I have 2 BRIs and 2 FXS, which means I can connect up to 2 ISDN line and 2 analog endpoints to my 3CX. Regarding the BRI, we said we need to have ports as TE in order to connect those ISDN lines to my 3CX. In this case, you have two solutions. You can either configure the gateway manually or use the 3CX wizard. In any case, you first need to create the extensions in the 3CX. So we can do this. We go in the 3CX, choose extensions. I already have the extension number 100, but what I will do is simply add 2 new extensions. I click add. I call this one 101. And I will use user, 101. And the password, this one. Okay. And I will do exactly the same for the extension 102. 102. Okay. So in this case, I've created 2 extensions within my 3CX. What I will want to do is connect them to my gateway. So on the 3CX, the user parts has been done. What I can do now is add the SIP trunk in order to let my 3CX know that if I want to call through the gateway, I have to send calls to this SIP trunk, which will be a gateway in this case. I add a gateway. The brand is beroNet. I choose the BRI1. I have 3 choices, BRI, FXO, or PRI. In my case, I have the hybrid gateway, which is for the 3CX, the BRI1. Then I have to choose the number of physical PSTN ports on the device. Here I have actually 4 ports. However, on the PSTN side, I have only 2 ports. Those 2 ports are the 2 BRI ones. So I say 2. And then here I have to tell the 3CX which is my trunk number for my ISDN lines. So I just put the number of beroNet and I click OK. The last thing I need to do on the 3CX side is to tell the 3CX which IP the gateway has. So in my case, I have the 5.22. I enter the IP address here, 22. And then I can take a look here. The authentication for the SIP trunk, so the SIP connection between the 3CX and the gateway, I will need to use as a user 10,000, and as a password, I will have to use this one. I can click OK, and I see that the gateway has been configured. Here I can either choose to use the 3CX wizard or create everything manually. If you know what you're doing it manually is very nice because it goes very quickly. However, you should know what the wizard does in order to make small changes if the configuration doesn't fit exactly the need of the client. So what we can do quickly is to take a look at how to configure it manually. So first, I can go to the ISDN part and add the ports I want to configure. What I said is the group name will be ISDN. I can put both of my ports in it. The tone is the country tone where the ISDN lines are. In my case, it will be Germany. The country code, in my case, it will be 0049. And the city code for Berlin will be 303. I can save. And here I created the ISDN ports. Then I can do the same for the FXS. I go here, I add a port. The group name will be 101 because I'm going to create one group of port per extension. I choose the first group, and the clip, I want it to be 101 because when this calls, I want 3CX to see the number 101 is calling. Saving, and I will do exactly the same for the port 2. Okay. You can save each time you change something or simply at the end, depending on what you want to do. If you know what you're doing, it's best to activate at the end so that you don't lose time. Okay, so on the hardware side, we've created the ISDN ports and the analog ports. What we need to do now is create the SIP part. I go to SIP, add a trunk, and what we can do is choose VoIP PBX here, and then we have the templates for SIP trunk connecting this gateway to the 3CX. I press next, and here I have only a few information to enter. The name, which can be whatever I want. The SIP domain, which is the IP address of my 3CX, which is 172.25.129. 172.20.5.129. User, what we said is 10,000, and the password was this one. Yes. I save. Okay, very good. What I still need to do is create 2 SIP accounts in order to connect the 2 analog ports to the 3CX. I click Add. I use PBX, 3CX. I will call it extension 101. The SIP domain was 172.20.5.129. The user will be 101, and the password will be this. And now I do the same for extension 102. PBX, 3CX, extension 102, 172, tuck, 102, 102. Save. So as you can see, when you know exactly what you're doing, it goes quickly, but it's very redundant. So the idea is to use the wizard in order to make all this configuration of the gateway quicker and spend more time on the configuration of the 3CX in order to make it exactly the way your client needs it. What I will then need to do is go to the dial plan and create 6 rules in order to connect the 3CX to the ISDN lines, in order to create to connect the analog port 1 to extension 101, and to connect extension 102 to port 2. So this can take a while. However, what we created, which is very nice on the gateway with the last version, is the reverse rule option, meaning that I can simply click here, say I want to connect my ISDN ports to my 3CX, say I want a reverse rule, save, and I directly have 2 rules sending everything that comes from the ISDN to my 3CX and everything that comes from my 3CX to the ISDN lines. I will need to do 4 more rules for each analog port. However, what I want would like to show you is how to configure the gateway automatically thanks to the 3CX wizard. So we'll simply go back to my gateway configuration within the 3CX, save my password once again because I will need it right away, and click on Generate Device Configuration. Here I have my 3CX wizard that appears, and all the information I need to enter on the gateway are here. At the end, I will simply click on Save and Activate, and the configuration of the gateway will happen automatically. So on the server address, I enter the IP address of the 3CX. The port is 5060. The user is still 10,000. The password is still the one I saved. Country code once again is 0049. City code 030. And here I also have the possibility of configuring port 1 and 2 of the FXS ports I have on the gateway. For the first one, I said it was 101 as a user, and the password was 101. And for port 2, it was 102 and 102, 102. Once again, here I can change the tone and for the ISDN line as well. So once I'm sure of all the information I gave here, I can simply click on Save, and I get a warning that says, be careful if you save right now, all the configuration that you previously had on the gateway will be deleted. I know, I say OK, and I finally can click on the red Activate, which will activate the configuration I just made on the gateway. What we saw is that we have 3 different activates that appear when you configure the beroNet gateway. The red activate will lead to a reboot, so that we'll cut the calls for up to 3 minutes. The orange activate will cut the calls for a little while, so like 30 seconds. And the yellow activate, you can do it whenever you want. This doesn't cut the calls, and it activates what you changed. So it's quite easy. Each time you change something on dial plan or SIP, it's a yellow activate. If you change something on the PSTN side, it's an orange activate. And on the hardware side, so when you change from TE to NT, for example, this will be a red activate. So the gateway has rebooted. We can take a look at the 3CX. We can see that the trunk is still red, and the extensions are not up yet. So maybe the gateway hasn't rebooted completely. Let's take a look. No, it's not there yet. If you are sure of the configuration, so if you're sure of the IP address of your gateway, of the 3CX, of the username you used, and of the password, and it still doesn't work, right now it has worked. If we could take a look at the trunk, it's green. My extensions as well. However, if it stays red, it means that the 3CX puts you in the blacklist. And the 3CX configuration is very strict, meaning that if you make one mistake, the gateway will keep trying to register, but the 3CX will put it in the blacklist because you made a mistake in the password, for example. So let's take a look at the gateway. Okay, so we see that the configuration is exactly the same. I have 2 ISDN ports, 2 FXS ports, and 3 SIP trunks. And if I take a look at the dial plan, I have 6 rules connecting my SDN lines to the 3CX, connecting my FXS port 1 to extension 101, and connecting my analog port 2 to my extension 102 in the 3CX. So using the wizard is very nice because it creates the configuration automatically. However, you should know how to change the configuration of the gateway in case your client wants specific things. For example, what we have right now is we connected the analog ports to the extension within the 3CX. It might happen that your client has a fax, an analog fax that he wants to connect to the gateway, but he doesn't want the fax to go through the 3CX, but he wants the fax to go directly to the ISDN. This means that we would need to create a rule that sends the fax to the ISDN, but this only in some cases. For those who know the beroNet gateways, you can see that the web interface right now is very simple, and the number of options I have for my dial plan are not complete. This is because the firmware 16.1 offers two GUI mode, the easy one that I'm using currently, and the advanced mode. In the advanced mode, I have more options, and I can create more precise rules. For example, I can say, I want my calls coming from my analog device, well, better said, coming from my ISDN line to go to my analog port number 1 only when I receive a fax. This enables the gateway to directly route the incoming fax to the fax machine. For this, I simply set in the destination the number of my fax, which could be 030 25 93 89 70, for example, and I save. And I would need to put this rule above this one in order for it to happen, to work, because the dial plan works from top to bottom, meaning that the precise rules need to be placed at the top. So here, this rule which is at the bottom, I need to place it at the top like this, and then I need to activate. So once again, using the wizard is very great. It makes the configuration quicker. However, it's very important that you know how to configure the beroNet gateways for that kind of small changes. Are there any questions regarding the configuration of the gateway? Okay, I don't see any question. I believe that the presentation is very clear, which is good. So we saw that we have different technologies in such an installation. We have analog technology, ISDN, and SIP. And as you all understood, the aim of a gateway is to connect everything. We also noticed that, well, the aim of the gateway is to connect ISDN to SIP, and you really don't want to spend more than half an hour, which is still long, on the gateway configuration. So what we try to do here at beroNet is to offer a simple solution based on the following philosophy. All of our gateways and appliances are cloud managed, which means that once you've installed the gateway or the appliance at your customer's place, you do not need to go there to change the configuration or monitor it. The cloud does this for you, and you can change the configuration of your gateways just as if you were on site. Then we have a very easy installation, as I just showed, especially once you've done a few installation and you know where to click and the little tricks, you can make an installation very easily in 5 minutes. As a gateway, we need to be open and agnostic, meaning that we need to be compatible with everything. So as long as your SIP provider uses a normal SIP, whatever the codec, we are compatible with it. If you have a customer using an old PBX and you want to make it and you want to connect it to a SIP trunk, our gateways will be compatible and will be able to do so. And finally, we are modular, meaning that you can create the solution of your choice. You choose the gateway you need, the baseboard, and then put the right modules on it. As you saw, we have 7 modules, sorry. BRI, PRI, FXO, FXS, hybrid, and GSM. Depending on what your client needs, you take the baseboard, put the right modules in it, and offer a turnkey solution dedicated to your client's needs. So that was it for the presentation today. If you need help, we can help. We have lots of resources on the website thanks to our blog articles. We're doing different webinars. So this was the last webinar in English for this month, but I or my colleague Jeff will do other webinars in English in October. So if you want to get news, well, you will probably receive some emails or check our website, but if you can also subscribe to the newsletter, then you get all the new blog articles and the new webinars. And finally, if you wish to train on our tech, we have a technical training based on a technical kit that enable you to really understand how beroNet works and to become a beroNet partner. When you've become a beroNet partner, you have access to different pros. First of all, this tech training. Then you get technical support directly from us. You also get an access to the beroNet cloud. This is a free access that enables you to remotely manage all your solution. You also get extra discount from your local distributor and leads coming from your country. So once we have end customers contacting us in order to have information or just to have gateways, as we do not sell directly to end clients, we send those leads to our partners, and our partners can take care of it.